All right, today we're diving into one of history's great mysteries, the ancient city of Teotihuacan. For centuries, its massive ruins have held a huge secret. How did this place become one of the most powerful cities on the entire planet? Well, archaeologists are finally starting to piece together the clues, and what they're finding is just wow. Let's get into it.
Listen to this. Deep beneath its pyramids, researchers have found some truly wild and, frankly, terrifying things. We're talking shimmering pools of liquid mercury, jewelry made out of human teeth, and chilling evidence of massive, ritualized sacrifice. These discoveries really paint a picture of an incredibly complex and maybe ruthless society.
And that right there brings us to the central puzzle of Teotihuacan. Think about it. They built this sprawling metropolis, they influenced cultures hundreds of miles away, and they completely reshaped the politics of Mesoamerica, all without leaving behind a single written word that we've been able to decipher. So the question is, how on earth did they do it? Let's follow the evidence.
Okay, so first things first, let's just get a sense of the place we're dealing with. Because Teotihuacan wasn't just another city, it was an absolute phenomenon.
For nearly 1,000 years, Teotihuacan was a giant. At its peak, it was actually bigger than any European city of its time. But here's the crazy part. We don't know what its people called themselves, we don't know what language they spoke, and we don't even know what they called their own city. The name we use, Teotihuacan, was given to it by the Aztecs centuries after it was abandoned. It means the birthplace of the gods.
So our investigation really starts with a chilling discovery, one that gives us the first major clue about the true nature of Teotihuacan's power. We're going to focus on this incredible structure, the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. Its construction, starting around 180 CE, wasn't just about building something impressive, it was a major statement. This single event basically kicks off what we call the Mesoamerican Early Classic period, and it sends shockwaves across the entire continent.
And here's why. Buried within and all around this pyramid, archaeologists found the remains of over 200 individuals. Now, this wasn't a cemetery. This was a single, massive sacrificial event, all tied directly to the pyramid's dedication.
So who were all these victims? Well, the forensics tell a fascinating and grim story. Many were buried dressed up like Teotihuacan warriors. But when you look at the chemical analysis of their bones and teeth, it turns out most of them weren't from the city at all. Their isotopic signatures and fancy dental work, like jade inlays, are a match for the distant Maya lands. The evidence points to one conclusion. These were likely foreign captives, sacrificed in a brutal display of Teotihuacan's military power.
So military might was clearly a huge part of the equation. But what fueled it? Well, it was fueled by immense economic power. Let's move to our next clue and see how this all connects.
The key to that power was a material called obsidian. You can think of this volcanic glass as the steel of the ancient Americas. It could be chipped into blades that were literally sharper than steel, perfect for tools, ritual objects, and, most importantly, for deadly weapons like spear points and knives. If you controlled obsidian, you controlled a critical part of the economy and warfare.
And guess what? Teotihuacan had a monopoly on the best of the best. While gray obsidian was pretty common, this rare, super high-quality green obsidian came from mines at a place called Pachuca, which the Teotihuacan state controlled directly. This gave them an unbelievable advantage, letting them mass-produce superior weapons and fancy high-status goods that everyone wanted. And this chart just shows you the incredible impact. Let's take the major Maya city of Tikal, hundreds of miles away. Before 150 CE, they were mostly using local stuff. But afterward, the trade just completely flips. The amount of that fancy green obsidian from Pachuca skyrockets by over 7,000%. Tikal was being pulled hard into Teotihuacan's economic orbit. So we've got military intimidation and we've got economic control, but then comes the smoking gun, evidence of direct political meddling right in the heart of the Maya world. Okay, first, a key term you need to know, talud tablero. It's this unique architectural style. You've got a sloping base with a rectangular panel sitting right on top. This is the unmistakable signature of Teotihuacan. Think of it like their architectural fingerprint. When you find this outside of central Mexico, you've found their footprint. And just look at how this timeline unfolds. Not long after those huge sacrifices back at the Feathered Serpent Pyramid, Teotihuacan-style buildings start popping up in Tikal. Then, in the year 378 CE, a general with clear ties to Teotihuacan, a man named Teotihuacan, marches into the city. This event is so important it's known simply as the entrada, which just means the arrival. Now, on the very day of the entrada, Tikal's king just conveniently dies, and a new king is put on the throne, one whose father had direct links to Teotihuacan. This wasn't a trade mission, people. This was a regime change. It was a political takeover that put a Teotihuacan-backed dynasty in charge of one of the most powerful Maya cities.
But this is where the story gets really interesting. Teotihuacan's influence wasn't just about brute force. It was about creating a totally new kind of power, a fusion of two different cultures.
To really get this, we have to look at the Azjaltak, the Maya lords and kings. It was this elite class, not the common people, who were completely fascinated and influenced by Teotihuacan's power and its prestige.
And here's the crucial point. The Maya elite didn't just want Teotihuacan's goods, they wanted its identity. They started to publicly present themselves as Teotihuacan warriors, adopting all the powerful symbols of the biggest military force in their world.
They picked up Teotihuacan's cult of the mirror, a whole religious thing focused on obsidian. They started using Teotihuacan weapons like the atlatl, a kind of spear thrower. They even had portraits made of themselves in full Teotihuacan warrior gear. And why? Well, by linking themselves to this foreign superpower, Maya lords created this powerful new identity that legitimized their own rule and set them way above their own people.
As one researcher put it so well, this created a totally new kind of elite. They weren't just Maya lords copying a foreign power. They were a hybrid, a dynamic fusion, a syncretism of the two cultures. They were something new, occupying this totally unique position of power. And there it is. That's how we cracked the code. Teotihuacan's power wasn't an empire in the way we think of, say, the Romans. It was a hegemony. Its dominance was built on a clever mix of targeted military threats, total economic control, and an ideology so cool and powerful that foreign elites were lining up to adopt it. They didn't need a written language to spread their influence. They just made other kings want to be them.
It's really an incredible model of influence, one that completely blurs the lines between conquest, trade, and just pure cultural attraction. And it really makes you wonder, right? In our own globalized world, how often does power work in the exact same way? Where does economic influence end and cultural dominance begin? It's a question that's just as relevant today as it was 1,500 years ago.